Welcome to Fix and Fly, the business podcast, which identifies common business issues for you to watch out for in your day-to-day business life. So tune in every fortnight where we speak to leaders of corporates to SMEs where you can implement their strategies into your business. I'm your host, Larissa Logan from Fixity, where we help turn businesses around. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to the Fix and Fly podcast.
Thank you, Larissa. Yeah, good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Health 15?
Yeah, definitely. Jamie Summers. So I've been in the construction industry for a long time now, probably almost 27 years all up. Started in the UK when I left school, trained as a builder, worked on the tools for most of my younger life, and then progressed into owning a small construction company in the UK before emigrating to New Zealand in 2011. My journey with Health 15 probably started back in 2019, on the 14th of December 2019, on a very normal Saturday morning. I suffered a stroke. I had a bleed in the lower left side of my brain that saw me basically live quite a traumatic recovery, learning to walk again, learning to use a knife and fork, having to have speech therapy, and all of those other things that come with the physical recovery of a stroke. I also then had a long mental journey. The burden of being a stroke survivor, the fear of something like that happening again to you in life, it has a massive mental burden on you, and it's probably something that a lot of people don't talk about. There's a misconception that stroke is an old person's illness, which is exactly what I thought right up until the day I suffered that stroke. I thought, well, stroke, something that happens in people a lot older, a lot older than me. And that's really not the case. Actually, stroke is something that affects about 9,500 New Zealanders every year. And about 80 or 90% of those strokes are actually preventable through some small modifiable lifestyle changes. Maybe stop smoking, reduce your weight, increase your exercise. Those really simple changes in lifestyle can actually completely reverse those underlying factors that cause stroke. Obviously, you can go on medication to reduce things like blood pressure. So stroke is preventable, but the main cause is high blood pressure, and that's where a lot of young people live in. And so Joe Lambert, who's the CEO of Stroke Aotearoa, puts it very politely as they live in Sniper's Alley. They are living with these underlying issues, and then they never know they have them. A shocking statistic, and although very focused on construction sites, it is a workplace wellness initiative. And I say to people, if I came to your workplace tomorrow, and we did our blood pressure tests that we do, I'd probably only find about 30% of workers in your workplace with what we call normal blood pressure. Up to 5% we'd find that need immediate medical attention, and potentially kind of just under 1% we'd actually have to call an ambulance and get them straight to hospital. So, and this is where Health 15 comes in. So we are taking a holistic approach to taking health and wellness checks to the doorsteps of workplaces, those kind of hard to reach people, which is generally your tradies, your workers on construction sites, those guys. And I know this full well because this was my life, that high pressure environment, tight deadlines, financial burden on construction projects, all leads to a high stress situation where people are working quite long hours, definitely Monday to Friday, sometimes Saturdays, and even sometimes Sundays. They forget to do the one important thing, which is look after themselves, take the time to actually go and get themselves checked out and themselves looked after. The other sad statistic of stroke, it's the second biggest killer in New Zealand, second to heart attacks. The difference between a stroke and a heart attack, generally, if you survive a heart attack, you'll go on just to live a very normal life. Most stroke survivors, in fact, I would say almost all stroke survivors, live with some sort of permanent disability. And that in itself is a problem, especially when you think about tradies. They're generally sole incomes for families, and so there's no support from ACC for stroke survivors. So if you think about a tradie on site who's taken out with something like a stroke, and for myself included, I was quite lucky. I had moved to the professional services side of the construction industry by the time I suffered my stroke, and no longer relied on my hands to work. But had I have still been on the tools, I would not be able to. Number one, I wouldn't be able to use my hand like I used to. And number two, with any head injury, whether it's stroke or a serious concussion or any type of brain injury, fatigue is a huge factor that comes into play. And so you just would not be able to pump out those long hours and do the work that I used to do before my stroke. So it's essential that we do get in front of those people.
So you made a comment earlier around these business owners aren't looking after themselves, and it's really tough, right? Because they're trying to manage a business.
Mm-hmm.
They might be a sole trader. They might have 5 staff. Times are tough.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of distress in the construction sector.
Yeah.
We're seeing increased costs, inflationary pressures, fuels going through the roof. And they're just trying to hold it all together.
Yeah.
And then for them to have time to even think about themselves, to look after themselves. I mean, how do you bring them back to that space?
Look, and it's difficult. It really is. When something like stroke takes you out, you know, you're not recovering anytime soon from it. It will wipe out your business, especially in that situation where they're much smaller businesses with just 4 or 5 staff. What's your succession planning like? Is there someone that can step in for a prolonged period of time to actually take over and keep the business running, especially if the business isn't doing very well at the time? There's definitely that impact to think about. Yeah.
So Health 15 goes out to various construction sites, and then the workers, do they just kind of come out and get tested?
Yeah. So we don't just sort of turn up on site. We kind of, so what we do is we start off with, we go through a process. We inform, we act, and then we follow up, basically. And we attend toolbox talks and we educate people on why we're coming out. And what the process is and the sort of tests that we're doing. We didn't want to develop an initiative that kind of shuts your site down for a day because we're doing a health and wellness day. We're really focused on, we tried to make it so accessible that, you know, your tradie can be working up the ladder, doing whatever they're doing. It's time for their appointment. They're down the ladder, in through our van. So we use vans that are set up with our calibrated blood pressure machines, and through the van, they've had their appointment and they're back on the tools all within 15 minutes. And most fit, healthy individuals, they'll be within 5 minutes, you know. And then there's the people that are in those more elevated, have more elevated blood pressure readings. We'll sort of work with them, talk to them a little bit about why that may be. And it could be something really simple, like, well, actually, I've had one of those mornings, I've had 3 or 4 coffees and a can of V, and I've been running around all day, and so that's why my blood pressure is elevated. And actually, when you sit down and talk to someone, you'll actually then see that blood pressure reducing as well, because there's probably a bit of what's the word they call it, white coat syndrome, you know, like people are just a bit nervous about going through the van. And Health 15 always works best when you have that good advocate on site, albeit the site manager or someone in that kind of leadership position that the guys on site really look up to and respect. If they're walking around kind of going, right, you're next, you're in next, you know, and kind of coordinating it for us, we get so much more buy-in and it works so well.
That was my next question, right? I mean, you talked about culture, and New Zealand, we have that typical she'll be right attitude. Mm-hmm. What has the buy-in been like?
It's actually been really good. I think the construction industry as a whole we do a really good job of talking about mental health. It's okay to not be okay is a really well communicated message now that I see people quite actively and openly talking about. But what I also see in construction is a lot more of the sort of burnout, the fatigue, they're tired, they're feeling the pressure. And those are the people, and I say this a lot, when your mental health suffers, then your physical health suffers. The two go hand in hand with each other. The day my physical health was taken out, well, my mental health dropped completely. You know, when someone is burnt out, they're just going through the motions. Their decision making drops. You know, they're not thinking straight. They're thinking about the time pressure or the financial pressure of running a business or running a construction project. And that's where I think you do need to stop and say, actually, it's okay to not be okay.
And what are some great news stories that you've had from people that have been into the Health 15 van on a construction site?
Oh, so many. Honestly, we've, I literally every single time I attend an industry event, I have someone walk up to me. We will have been running for 4 years in November this year. We've seen well over 3,000 people workers on construction sites right across the country. And I attend industry events all the time now and have people coming up to me just saying, honestly, like I'm having regular checkups at my doctor's now. I was absolutely shocked. We were down in Queenstown at the Property Council conference down there. More recently, we were at the Build Up conference with the Building Institute Aotearoa. And I have people come up to me all the time just being like, I was absolutely blown away when I learnt what my blood pressure reading was. And it's really good. We have a lot of conversations about that. There's also people that come up to me and say, look, I just want to let you know you've changed my life forever. I was quite shocked. I got that reading. I went away. I went to my GP. And they're now medicated for high blood pressure. They're learning about the causes of that. They're learning about the high pressure lifestyle they're putting themselves in. We also had a project manager from one of our industry partners who actually through Health 15, we discovered they had fatty liver disease. You know, Health 15's changed that person's life forever from something that was just an underlying, undetected issue has really turned their life around now, and they've been able to make those modifiable changes to reduce that factor.
That sounds like some really great outcomes. What would you say the state of wellness is in the construction sector at the moment?
I'd say there's a lot of anxiety out there right now. There's a lot of people worried about their job. There's a lot of people worried about where the next job's going to come from. It's a really difficult thing to change. Yeah, I think it's a mindset change that has to happen within the industry. We talk health and safety all the time, and I think we're doing an amazing job of managing safety on construction sites. And I think it is time now to actually start bringing that health factor into it and making health a requirement more than just a nice to have.
And that sounds like a really great initiative. With the likes of Health 15, it obviously costs money to deliver that program. How do you scale something like Health 15 to be able to deliver these initiatives that you're saying that you think we need throughout the sector?
So Health 15 started off as a collaboration basically between Stroke Aotearoa and my employer at the time, which is a building intelligence group. And what we have done now is grown to be a full wraparound health and wellness service. So there's 8 other NGOs now joined us, providing all sorts of checks from the Heart Foundation, Cancer Society, Melanoma New Zealand, Diabetes New Zealand, Arthritis New Zealand. There's a whole array of other NGOs now come on board, all looking at different ways in which they can support the industry with a very similar thing. Come in, inform, talk about the underlying risk, and then come back and actually act by providing some kind of checkup, whether it's blood sugar level checks for diabetes or all of those sort of things where people want access to people who don't take the time to go and actually get to their doctor and get the health checks. And so to scale it up, I think it's probably not about cost of service. There is a cost, you're right. It's funded completely by the industry. Would love the government to fund it. That would be amazing if they would. But right now we're funded by our amazing industry partners that are all either construction companies or some clients that actually engage with construction companies. They employ us to be on their projects. And I think it's not necessarily about cost of service. It's about the impact of what will happen if you don't do it. Okay, if you don't do it, you are going to lose workers to illness. That's going to cost you time. That's going to cost you downtime on site. As I spoke about earlier, that people who are physically unwell generally are going to be mentally drained and mentally unwell. They're going to be burnt out. There's a big misconception that the way you fix burnout, especially if you think it's career burnout or burnout through your job, a lot of people think, well, the way to fix that is to get a new job, and that's honestly not always the case. You can't do that. But hey, look, if your workforce are thinking, right, I've had enough of this, I'm burnt out, I'm gonna leave, there's a huge cost to industry through all of those factors. Yeah.
And then how about the costs? I mean, I see a lot of directors coming through my door that I'm advising. Mental health is, really struggling. They've been dealing with distress in their business for maybe 12, 18 months. The next 12 months is not looking any better for them. The impact on their immediate family, I see that as huge. Are you seeing that in the sector as well with the people that you're kind of speaking with?
Yeah, we definitely do. We've noticed a big change in people wanting to engage with the service. That has been people are very protective of that bottom line right now, and it's a shame. I completely understand it. I get where they're coming from. But as I say, it's that longer term impact of your physical health not being good that is going to have major impacts on your ability to operate as a business in the future. Yeah.
And when you're not thinking straight, you're not making good decisions, business decisions around pricing, staffing, taking on the right contract that's actually going to be profitable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's completely right. And I think that's where the industry does, and it comes back to that culture thing that I spoke about before, and people in exactly that situation are going to be, what are they going to be cutting? They're going to be trying to cut their food bill. They're going to be probably eating a lot less healthier than they used to. They're probably cutting their gym memberships, their PT sessions. They're, not visiting their doctors as much, and that's where you really need to keep a close eye on it, because stress is a huge factor. Fatigue is a huge factor when people are concerned about their business and getting through the current economic climate. They're going to be not sleeping at night, worrying about this sort of stuff, and lack of sleep again leads to all of these underlying factors that will cause more serious illness.
And so you've mentioned you've just received some new NGOs into Health 15.
Yeah.
How tough was it to get new businesses, charities to come and support?
Oh, look, no, it was really, really easy. So the NGO sector just absolutely love what we're doing, and they all know how important it is to get access to exactly the demographic of people that are working on construction sites, because they wouldn't normally see them elsewhere out in the community. So no, it was really easy to get everyone wanted to come on board. Setting up that collaborative model, it was really important to us. As I say, although Health 15 was set up with Stroke Aotearoa and probably with my experience in mind, we always knew that we were just the kaitiaki of Health 15, and that it needed to grow beyond stroke. And we've always said, if someone can do a better job of getting it out there, then please come in and do it. So that's why we were really clear. We wanted to grow. a lot of our partners wanted us to grow. It was that mind shift from the response I get quite often is, "Oh, we already do annual health checks," and I say, "But this isn't baseline setting. Okay, this is that holistic approach. This is that inform, that educate, and to actually work with people." Something that will surprise you, a response we quite often get is, "I already know that my blood pressure is too high and I should be on medication, but I just can't afford to pay go to the doctor and get the prescriptions." Or, and so as part of Health 15, if we find people on site that need to go and see a doctor, then we actually fund that for them, so that that's not a barrier to service. So.
Yeah, that's really great. What would be your number one hope for the construction sector in the next 12 months?
The construction industry, it's an incredible industry to work in, and it's quite funny. I was just talking about it this morning. It's an industry that gives you so much opportunity, I think. I mean, I feel sorry for anyone that works in any other industry, to be honest, because working in construction, we get to renovate the old, we get to build the new. Every project we work on, we get to leave a legacy behind us. It's a really fantastic industry that me personally has taken me all the way around the world and enabled me to meet my wife and have the family that I've got right now and call New Zealand home. The construction industry is built on a foundation of people. It really is. Right now, I see a lot of people leaving the country. That's really sad, I think. Sad for the industry, and I think only going to create more pressures in the future for construction. A lot of our skilled workforce going offshore now. My hope for the industry is that we can collaborate together and have a fit and healthy industry with some really good people, that we invest in training, we invest in educating the up-and-coming future of the construction industry. It's also quite well known, especially the New Zealand industry, that we're an ageing industry of old people that are all due for retirement sometime soon. So yeah, we need to invest in our industry. We need to invest in our people.
Are you seeing a change in the culture with the younger young guns coming through in the sector with regards to how they manage their wellness?
That's a really good question. I'm definitely seeing a change in the sector with the young guns coming through. I think it's great to see. They're full of energy, full of innovation, full of ideas. And I think that health and wellness might be that one thing that they do let slip when they come to the table with all their innovation and all their ideas. And as I say, I think construction technology is going to grow a lot over the next sort of 5 years. And we're going to see some real changes in how we deliver construction projects. I just hope that when we talk about health and safety, we're really good with safety. I just hope that we can start thinking a bit more about the health factor in it as well.
What do you think will be the key driver around refocusing business owners and the sector on focusing on that health piece?
I hope what isn't the driver is personal experience, because I can tell you firsthand that your life will change forever. You'll never ever be the same person you were when you have a serious illness. Honestly, that old saying that you can have 1,000 problems in life until you have a serious health condition, and then you've got just one. I mean that. When you have something like a stroke, it changes who you are forever. You will never ever be the same person you were before your stroke. I say, even for my wife, she's not now married to the same person she was prior to my stroke. And so, look, I hope that mind shift can come through looking at other people's experiences and saying, actually, that's right. This cycle in the construction sector, I really hope that it does turn soon, and that the economy kind of does have a big shift, and we can start to get some traction on some of these big projects that we all know are out there and waiting to come. And I think right now, I just hope that everyone can say, look, you need to look beyond this and realise there is a future beyond this. This isn't forever. This is just here and now. And but what is forever is your health and your wellness.
And if you were to give one top tip to an SME business owner, what would it be?
Oh, I wouldn't listen to anything I've got to say, I don't think. One top tip would be, look, I get it. It's really tough right now. It's a stressful environment to be in, but just take that time to go out. I mean, we live in New Zealand. No one's ever that far from the ocean. I go most days and just look out to sea and just, take a few big breaths in and out, and just really grateful to be here right now. Really grateful to have the opportunity to be a father to my children. Yeah. And so just think about that. Think about, just taking the time for yourself, and trying not to put all of your energy into what's potentially a difficult environment or a tough environment right now.
I think that's some really great advice. Thank you so much for joining me on the Fix and Fly podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been good to be here. So thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoy the Fix and Fly podcast, make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and share with anyone you think will find this useful. We look forward to seeing you next time.